Chosen one, your presence here is no accident. It's a divine appointment, orchestrated by the very hand of heaven, drawing you into this precise moment because the celestial realm holds something of profound urgency for your spirit. The veil between worlds is gossamer thin, the atmosphere charged with anticipation, and you stand poised on the precipice of a supernatural financial breakthrough, a divine wealth transfer prepared exclusively for you, a watershed moment in your destiny. What you are about to receive transcends mere information. It's an impartation, a direct infusion of heavenly essence into your very being. Echoing the prophet Isaiah's declaration, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Heaven is actively weaving a new tapestry within you right now. Anointed one, open the floodgates of your heart, for this is your designated moment, a convergence of destiny and divine intention. Chosen one, something sacred is unfolding around you as we speak. Even if its full significance eludes your grasp at this moment, know this, you didn't stumble upon this juncture through mere curiosity or happenstance. No, you were meticulously drawn here, guided by an unseen hand and pulled into this precise second because heaven itself is orchestrating a monumental shift in your life's trajectory. I can sense the profound spiritual gravity of it, that subtle tremor in the air that heralds the dawn of a redirection for one chosen by God. And yes, that chosen one is unequivocally you. For what feels like an eternity, a quiet ache has resonated within you each time you entered the familiar confines of a church building. You tried to quell it, to blend in seamlessly, convincing yourself that perhaps the discomfort was a fault of your own making. You doubled down on worship, extended your prayers, and served with unwavering faithfulness, hoping against hope that the heaviness would dissipate. But it persisted unyielding. Because the truth, in its stark simplicity, is this: your spirit has outgrown the space that once provided shelter. The version of you that once craved structure and routine has metamorphosed into someone God can commune with directly, someone capable of receiving divine downloads without the need for intermediaries. I understand this deeply, intimately, because I myself traversed this very path. I recall sitting in church during seasons when the sermons were undeniably good, sincere, even delivered with fervent passion. Yet they no longer nourished the hunger that gnawed within me. It felt like being offered spiritual crumbs when my soul was ravenously starving for a feast of revelation. For a protracted period, I questioned my own sanity, wondering if something was inherently wrong with me. Later, the truth dawned upon me with blinding clarity. My fire had outgrown the room that once contained it. What I had mistakenly perceived as emptiness was, in reality, elevation, a sign that I was being called higher. That same elevation is now taking root within you, reshaping your spiritual landscape. You are not drifting aimlessly away from God. On the contrary, you are being drawn closer to the very heart of the divine. You are not rebelling against established norms. You are responding to a higher calling, a celestial summons. You are not losing your way in the labyrinth of life. You are being redirected onto a path that leads to deeper, more profound truths. This new season of your life transcends mere religious performance or predictable routines. It's an invitation to encounter the divine, to engage in intimate communion, to enter a dimension where the very Spirit of God becomes your personal teacher, your trusted counselor, and your unwavering guide. You are being drawn into a deeper realm of intimacy, where profound revelation surfaces in moments of serene silence, where clarity emerges in the most unexpected places, and where you learn to walk hand in hand with God beyond the confining walls of a building. But this spiritual awakening serves a purpose far grander than mere personal enrichment. Heaven is meticulously aligning you for a divine transfer, a release of wisdom that transcends earthly understanding, a clarity of vision that pierces through the fog of uncertainty, an authority that commands respect in the spiritual realm, and, for some, a tidal wave of provision that not only reshapes your financial landscape but redefines your entire destiny. This isn't about succumbing to the clutches of greed. It's about stepping into your divine assignment, the very reason you were created. When God elevates someone to a higher calling, He invariably equips them with everything needed to fulfill that purpose, every tool, every resource, every spiritual weapon. You have been fervently praying for a breakthrough, for doors to swing open, for transformative change to permeate your existence. Heaven is responding, not by simply adding more to your old season, but by resolutely pulling you away from the shackles of what no longer aligns with your true calling. There's a profound reason why you feel restless, a restlessness that permeates your very being. There's a reason why old routines feel stifling, too small to contain the burgeoning spirit within you. Your spirit is sensing the impending shift long before your mind can fully process and interpret its significance. And I want to make this unequivocally personal. When God orchestrated my own exodus from the environment I had convinced myself I needed, I initially resisted with every fiber of my being. I questioned everything, doubting my sanity and divine guidance. But the more distance I created, the clearer his voice became, resonating with unwavering certainty. The more silence I embraced, the more undeniably obvious it became that I wasn't losing my faith. I was, in fact, finally finding it, discovering its true essence. Outside the cacophony of noise, outside the well-worn grooves of familiar patterns, I discovered the palpable presence of God in ways I had never before imagined, a revelation that transformed my very understanding of the divine. Chosen one, the very same process is unfolding within you right now. God is meticulously preparing you for a supernatural chapter in your life's narrative. A chapter where divine direction becomes crystal clear, where your purpose becomes undeniably etched upon your soul, and where divine provision meets you precisely where you are, supplying every need, fulfilling every longing. You are not being separated because you are lost or unworthy. You are being called out because you are ready, because you have demonstrated the resilience and faith required to step into a new dimension of spiritual reality. This isn't the somber finale of your faith journey. It's the exhilarating genesis of your transformation, the dawn of a new era in your walk with God. Chosen one, from the very moment you began to feel disconnected from the places that once nurtured you, heaven was already signaling an impending transition, a shift in the tectonic plates of your spiritual landscape. This is a subtle nuance that many people tragically overlook. Spiritual restlessness is often one of God's earliest signs of impending elevation, a celestial breadcrumb trail leading you to your destiny. When your spirit no longer finds the nourishment it once readily absorbed, it's a clear indication that the season has shifted, that the chapter has come to a close. It signifies that what once sustained you has faithfully completed its divinely appointed assignment, fulfilling its purpose in your life's grand design. And you, anointed one, are being deliberately moved into something deeper, something meticulously designed and tailored specifically for the unique path you are now poised to embark upon. For years, you may have found solace in the comforting cadence of building sermons and the predictable rhythm of familiar routines. These things were not inherently wrong, nor were they inherently detrimental. They were, in fact, necessary, serving as stepping stones on your journey, places where God painstakingly laid foundations, tenderly healed deep-seated wounds, and patiently taught you the rudimentary elements of your spiritual identity. But foundations are never meant to be final destinations. They are merely the starting point for something far grander. A pot does not remain forever immersed in the fire. Its purpose is to be molded and shaped. A seed does not linger indefinitely in the soil once it has broken open and sprouted. Its destiny is to grow and flourish. When growth inevitably comes, movement invariably follows. You have been feeling the gentle nudge of the Spirit, the subtle yet persistent pull into solitude, quiet reflection, and personal communion with the divine. And this isn't because God has abandoned the church, turning his back on the institution he established. No, it's because God is actively seeking to meet you in a more personal, unfiltered way, bypassing intermediaries and engaging in direct communion. You are stepping into a new level of intimacy, where God speaks not through the filtered voices of others but directly through profound revelation, clear impressions, unwavering confirmations, vivid dreams, and sudden, illuminating clarity. The frequency of heaven is becoming increasingly clearer, not because it's amplified in volume, but because you are becoming more attuned to its subtle nuances, more receptive to its divine whispers. Chosen one, allow me to impart some wisdom born from personal experience. When God begins to amplify his voice within you, resonating in the deepest chambers of your heart, everything external invariably pales in comparison, becoming insignificant in the face of such profound revelation. I recall seasons where a single, quiet moment spent with God in the sanctuary of my bedroom taught me more than an entire year's worth of carefully crafted Sunday sermons. I didn't fully grasp the significance of it at the time. I wrestled with feelings of inadequacy, questioning whether something was inherently wrong with me or if I was spiritually unstable, teetering on the brink of some unseen precipice. But now, with the benefit of hindsight, I see it with crystal clarity. The wilderness is where God meticulously trains his warriors, his prophets, those destined to carry spiritual authority and wield it with unwavering integrity. The silence you feel is not absence. It is consecration, a deliberate setting apart for a sacred purpose. It is preparation for a type of calling that simply cannot be nurtured and developed under the scrutinizing eyes of the crowd, a calling that requires solitude and unwavering focus. This is precisely why you've been feeling misunderstood, as if you're speaking a language that no one else understands. People who once walked beside you on this journey of faith no longer seem to get you. Friends who once offered unwavering encouragement now feel distant, as if a chasm has opened between you. Even fellow believers may mistakenly perceive you as drifting away from the faith because you no longer seamlessly fit into their preconceived expectations. But listen closely, and let these words resonate deep within your soul. You are not drifting. You are differentiating, undergoing a metamorphosis that sets you apart for a unique purpose. God is deliberately pulling you away from what is common and mundane so that he can entrust you with what is sacred and extraordinary. Your calling is not a carbon copy of everyone else's. Your assignment is uniquely tailored to your individual gifts and passions. And unique assignments invariably necessitate unique environments, places where your spirit can thrive without being stifled by conformity. You may have noticed lately that you feel God's presence more tangibly in the everyday moments of life. Washing dishes, driving late at night, sitting quietly in the solitude of your room, than in the structured confines of traditional religious settings. This isn't a sign of rebellion or discontent. It's a sign of alignment, a testament to the fact that your spirit is being drawn closer to the divine. You are learning to walk with God in the same way that Enoch did, the way Elijah did, the way the prophets of old did, not in rigid routine, but in intimate relationship. Not in adherence to tradition, but in unwavering pursuit of truth. Not in outward performance, but in the palpable presence of the divine. And in this sacred space of intimacy, something profoundly powerful begins to awaken within you, stirring from its slumber. You start sensing, with unwavering certainty, that God is preparing you for a significant impact, a ripple effect that will extend far beyond your immediate sphere of influence. Not the kind of impact that comes with coveted titles, dazzling stage lights, or prominent religious roles, but the kind that emanates from simply carrying the tangible presence of God wherever you go, radiating his love and grace to all those you encounter. Your prayers begin to carry unprecedented weight, penetrating the spiritual realm with laser-like precision. Your discernment becomes sharper, allowing you to navigate the complexities of life with unwavering clarity. Your dreams become more vivid, offering glimpses into the divine plan unfolding around you. Your intuition becomes more accurate, guiding you with unwavering certainty. And your awareness of spiritual reality becomes unmistakable, a constant reminder that you are operating in a dimension far beyond the limitations of the physical world. Chosen one, this is God deliberately enlarging your territory internally before he expands it externally, strengthening your spiritual foundations so that you can withstand the weight of what he is about to entrust to you. But along with this profound spiritual awakening, there is something else at play, something equally significant. Heaven is positioning you for a divine transfer, a shift in resources, opportunities, wisdom, and provision that is currently taking shape in the unseen realm, waiting to manifest in the physical world. You may not yet see the tangible evidence of it, but you can undoubtedly feel it. A deep-seated sense that something extraordinary is coming, something is aligning perfectly, something is being meticulously prepared with your name emblazoned upon it. The delay you experienced was not a form of punishment or divine retribution. It was, in reality, divine protection, shielding you from premature exposure to something you weren't yet equipped to handle. God would never release you into a situation for which you were inadequately prepared. But now the preparation is complete. The shift has officially begun, setting in motion a chain of events that will irrevocably alter the course of your life. This divine transfer may manifest in a multitude of different ways, depending on the unique calling and destiny that God has placed upon your life. For some, it will come in the form of a financial breakthrough, an unexpected windfall of provision, doors swinging open that were once firmly shut, restored opportunities that were previously lost, and divine favor that elevates your name into rooms you've never even dared to imagine entering. For others, it will manifest as clarity, a sudden and profound understanding of your unique assignment, your true direction in life, and your authentic identity in Christ. And for still others, it will come in the form of influence, not the fleeting and superficial kind that seeks fame and recognition, but a genuine spiritual authority that causes your very presence to shift the atmosphere of the rooms you enter, transforming the environment with the power of the Holy Spirit. Your words will carry weight, resonating with truth and conviction. Your prayers will birth tangible change, ushering in breakthroughs and miracles wherever you go. Regardless of how it manifests, this transfer invariably requires a heart that is capable of receiving without succumbing to fear and carrying without being consumed by pride. That is precisely why God first deliberately separated you from the distracting noise of the world, the relentless demands of crowds, and the suffocating pressure of conformity. Not to isolate you in a desolate wilderness, but to refine you, to mold you into the vessel He intends you to be. Many people can readily celebrate success, reveling in the accolades and attention it brings. But very few possess the character and integrity required to handle the immense responsibility that comes with true spiritual authority. But you, Anointed One, have faithfully endured seasons of breaking, allowing God to chip away at the rough edges and cultivate humility within your heart. You have patiently weathered seasons of waiting, learning the invaluable art of trusting in God's perfect timing, even when it defies your own expectations. And you have embraced seasons of silence, sharpening your sensitivity to the still, small voice of the Holy Spirit, enabling you to discern His guidance with unwavering clarity. You are not being elevated because you have somehow attained perfection, reaching a flawless state of being. You are being elevated because you are ready, because you have demonstrated the resilience, faith, and unwavering obedience required to step into the next chapter of your divine destiny. I vividly recall a moment in my own life when everything around me seemed to crumble into dust. Relationships shifted and dissolved, routines were irrevocably disrupted, and financial security evaporated like a mirage in the desert. At first, I mistakenly interpreted it as spiritual warfare, a direct attack from the enemy intended to derail my calling. But looking back through the lens of experience, I now perceive it in a completely different light. It was divine restructuring, a meticulous dismantling of everything that could not withstand the weight of the next season, a necessary pruning to ensure that only the strongest branches would remain. And when the dust finally settled, new doors miraculously appeared, swinging open with an ease that defied explanation. I didn't have to chase after them, desperately grasping at fleeting opportunities. I didn't have to beg or plead, lowering myself to manipulation or deceit. They simply materialized, effortlessly aligning with my divinely ordained path, because alignment had come first, preceding opportunity and paving the way for destiny to unfold. That chosen one is precisely what God is orchestrating in your life right now. He is meticulously aligning you, deliberately elevating you, and painstakingly preparing you for a destiny that your old environment simply could not contain, a calling that transcends the limitations of your past. This is your season of profound spiritual awakening, divine positioning, and supernatural transfer, a convergence of heavenly forces designed to catapult you into your God-ordained purpose. You are not being called out of the church. You are being called into your unique assignment, the very reason you were created. You are not rejecting tradition for the sake of rebellion. You are answering the insistent call of destiny, a summons that resonates deep within your soul. And heaven is poised and ready to release everything that rightfully belongs to you, every blessing, every resource, every opportunity necessary to fulfill your divine mandate. Chosen one, when God embarks on the process of shifting your life into a new spiritual dimension, He rarely announces it with thunderous fanfare, signaling the change with dramatic displays of power. Instead, He whispers it subtly, almost imperceptibly, through the gentle prod of discomfort, a quiet unease that settles in the depths of your soul. Not the kind of soul-crushing discomfort that destroys your spirit and leaves you feeling defeated, but the kind that unsettles you just enough to grab your attention, prompting you to pause and consider the direction of your path. This sacred discomfort is not a sign that something is going terribly wrong, a harbinger of impending doom. On the contrary, it is irrefutable evidence that God is calling you higher, beckoning you to ascend to a new level of spiritual understanding and intimacy with Him. What once felt like home, a place of comfort and belonging, now feels strangely unfamiliar, as if you've walked into the wrong house. What once satisfied your soul now feels empty and hollow, leaving you yearning for something more profound. And though it may confuse and disorient your mind, struggling to reconcile the present with the past, it awakens your spirit, igniting a fire that has long been dormant. For many of you, this shift began quietly, almost unnoticed, like a gentle breeze rustling through the leaves. You began to notice that the sermons that once stirred your soul and ignited your passion had somehow lost their flavor, becoming bland and uninspiring. The worship that once lifted you into the heavenly realms, filling you with unspeakable joy, now felt repetitive and monotonous, lacking the depth and authenticity you once experienced. The environment that once held you securely, providing a sense of belonging and purpose, began to feel too small, too predictable, too controlled, failing to accommodate the burgeoning depth that was now rising within you, pushing against the boundaries of your old life. At first, you may have been quick to blame yourself, internalizing the discomfort and assuming that you were somehow losing your passion, slipping away from your spiritual moorings. But the truth is far more liberating, the reality a beacon of hope in the midst of uncertainty. Your spirit was simply expanding beyond the limiting confines of your old season, outgrowing the container that was no longer capable of holding the fullness of what God was pouring into you. This is what true spiritual growth genuinely feels like. Not loud, not dramatic, not a spectacle for all to behold, but rather like a piece of clothing that no longer fits comfortably, constricting your movements and hindering your freedom. What used to be enough, providing adequate comfort and security, no longer satisfies the deep longings of your soul. What used to feel rich and fulfilling now feels thin and superficial, lacking the substance you crave. Your soul, once content with the predictable structure of routine, now longs for genuine encounter with the divine, a tangible connection that transcends the mundane. And your heart, once satisfied with the comforting predictability of routine, now hungers for profound revelation, a deeper understanding of the mysteries of God. This shift is not rebellion. It is evolution, a natural progression toward the fullness of your God-given potential. Chosen one, you did not outgrow God, becoming too advanced for His teachings. You simply outgrew the environment where you first encountered Him, the place where you were initially introduced to the wonders of His grace. That is a sign of spiritual maturity, not disobedience, a testament to the fact that you are advancing in your walk with God. Your spirit has ascended to a new level, a place where God is calling you into deeper communion, a connection that cannot be contained within the confines of weekly schedules or traditional systems. You are being meticulously trained to hear His voice in a more intimate, personal, and supernatural way, bypassing the intermediaries and receiving direct communication from the source of all wisdom. I know this path well, intimately, because I have walked it myself, navigating the treacherous terrain of uncertainty and self-doubt. There were seasons where I sat in crowded rooms filled with the fervent energy of music, the passionate conviction of voices, and the amplified emotion of the crowd. Yet, something deep inside me remained untouched, unmoved by the outward display of religious fervor. It wasn't that the environment was inherently wrong or evil. It was simply no longer my place, no longer the setting where my spirit could truly thrive. God had subtly shifted the frequency of my spirit, tuning it to a higher vibration, and suddenly the noise that once inspired me became a distraction, a barrier between myself and the divine. I began hearing Him more clearly in the stillness of silence than in the cacophony of sound, more deeply in the solitude of personal reflection than in the bustling energy of crowds, more powerfully in the gentle whispers of the Holy Spirit than in the booming pronouncements of sermons. And though it was undeniably confusing at first, leaving me feeling disoriented and unsure of my direction. I eventually realized that God was patiently teaching me to hear him directly, to discern his voice amidst the chaos of the world. That is precisely what he is doing with you now, chosen one. Your spirit is becoming increasingly sensitive, more attuned to the subtle nuances of the spiritual realm. Your discernment is sharpening, enabling you to distinguish between truth and falsehood with unwavering clarity. Your dreams are becoming more vivid, offering glimpses into the divine plan unfolding around you. Your intuition is becoming more accurate, guiding you with unwavering certainty. And your awareness of spiritual reality is intensifying, reminding you that you are operating in a dimension far beyond the limitations of the physical world. This is not instability, a sign that you are losing your footing. This is divine training, a rigorous preparation for what God is about to entrust to you. God is opening your spiritual ears, enabling you to hear his voice with unprecedented clarity. And he is simultaneously awakening the gifts that have always been dormant inside you, waiting for the right environment to blossom and flourish. Gifts that simply could not bloom in environments built for the masses, places where individuality is often stifled in the name of conformity. To carry what God is preparing to place in your hands, the weight of responsibility, the power of influence, you need stillness, a sanctuary of peace where you can connect with the divine. You need clarity, a clear vision of your purpose and direction. You need separation, a deliberate setting apart from the distractions of the world. Not isolation, a complete withdrawal from society, but elevation, a rising above the noise and chaos to gain a higher perspective. There is a profound difference between the two. Isolation is a prison, a self-imposed exile that cuts you off from the life-giving connections you need to thrive. Elevation is a platform, a place of strategic advantage that only those chosen by God can stand on without collapsing under the weight of responsibility. One of the clearest signs that God is elevating you is the sudden shift in your relationships, a subtle but unmistakable reordering of your social circle. People who once walked alongside you, sharing your dreams and aspirations, may seem distant now, as if a chasm has opened between you. You might notice that old friendships no longer nourish your soul, leaving you feeling drained and unfulfilled. Conversations feel empty, lacking the depth and authenticity you crave. Interactions feel forced, as if you are merely going through the motions. People who used to celebrate you, cheering you on with unwavering enthusiasm, may now misunderstand you, questioning your motives and doubting your direction. And you've wondered why this is happening all at once, why the landscape of your relationships is suddenly shifting so dramatically. The answer is simple, yet profound. God is pruning your circle, carefully selecting those who will accompany you on the next leg of your journey. Not out of punishment, not because these people are inherently bad or unworthy, but out of preparation, ensuring that you are surrounded by those who can support and encourage you in your calling. Not because these people are inherently bad, but because your calling requires a level of clarity and purity that not everyone around you currently carries. Some people were meant only for the earlier chapters of your life, playing a vital role in shaping who you are today. Their role has been fulfilled, their season has ended, and holding on to them would only hold you back from what God wants to do next, hindering your progress and preventing you from reaching your full potential. Chosen one, understand this deeply, etching it upon the very fabric of your soul. Elevation always requires separation, a deliberate setting apart for a sacred purpose. Before God expands your territory, granting you greater influence and responsibility, he refines the voices around you, ensuring that only those who speak truth and encouragement have access to your ear. Before he releases new blessings into your life, he removes old distractions, anything that would hinder your progress or divert your attention from him. Before he promotes you spiritually, elevating you to a new level of understanding and authority, he detoxes your environment, purging anything that is toxic or detrimental to your well-being. You simply cannot carry divine assignments, fulfilling the weighty responsibilities that God has placed upon your shoulders, while simultaneously being surrounded by voices that drain your purpose, sapping your energy and undermining your confidence. Even Jesus, the Son of God, experienced this deliberate separation. Before performing miracles, he withdrew from the crowds, seeking solitude in prayer. Before receiving profound revelation, he separated himself from the disciples, ascending to the mountain to commune with his Father. Before enduring the agonizing ordeal of the cross, he walked alone, bearing the weight of the world's sin upon his shoulders. Not because he rejected people, viewing them as unworthy of his love, but because he needed alignment with heaven more than acceptance from the crowd, a clear understanding of his Father's will that superseded the opinions and expectations of others. And you, as a chosen vessel, a carrier of the divine presence, must walk a similar path, prioritizing your connection with God above all else. But here is the beautiful truth, the comforting reassurance that will sustain you through the inevitable challenges. The separation is never empty, never devoid of purpose. God never removes people from your life without simultaneously replacing them with something far greater, something more aligned with your destiny. He pulls people out so that he can place destiny in, strategically positioning those who will champion your calling and encourage you every step of the way. He removes what is familiar, stripping away the comfortable routines and familiar faces, so that he can reveal what is eternal, unveiling the timeless truths that will guide your path. He breaks old rhythms, disrupting the predictable patterns that have defined your life, so that he can establish new seasons, ushering in a fresh wave of blessings and opportunities. And he is doing the same in your life right now, meticulously orchestrating a series of events designed to elevate you to a new level of spiritual understanding and influence. The more your spirit awakens, the more heaven begins to position you for something greater, something that cannot be taught in classrooms or contained within the walls of buildings, something that transcends the limitations of human institutions. You are being prepared for a divine transfer, a heavenly shift, a supernatural repositioning that will touch every area of your life. Spiritual, emotional, relational, and yes, even financial. God is preparing to place into your hands what your old season was never designed to carry, the blessings and responsibilities that would have overwhelmed and potentially destroyed you in the past. But he first needed to make room in your spirit, clearing out the clutter and creating space for the new. He needed to empty old containers, discarding the worn-out patterns and beliefs that were no longer serving you. He needed to clear distractions, removing the obstacles that were hindering your progress and diverting your attention from him. He needed to bring you to a place where his voice becomes unmistakable, resonating with clarity and unwavering certainty. Because what he is about to give you requires maturity, a level of spiritual understanding and discernment that can only be cultivated through seasons of intentional preparation. You are not being removed from the church, exiled from the community of believers. You are being called into the fullness of your assignment, stepping into the unique purpose for which you were created. This is not the end of your faith journey, a somber conclusion to your relationship with God. This is the awakening of your destiny, the dawn of a new era in your walk with him. Chosen one, there comes a time in your journey with God when the familiar structures you once depended on, the routines and traditions that provided comfort and security, begin to loosen their grip, releasing you from their hold. Not because they were inherently wrong or evil, not because they somehow failed you, but because heaven is preparing you for a new dimension of spiritual maturity, a place where you can operate with greater freedom and authority. This season, right now, is that season for you, the pivotal moment when everything shifts. You may not have fully realized it yet, but the quiet distance you feel from old environments, the subtle sense of detachment from the places that once nourished you, is not abandonment, a sign that God has forsaken you. It is elevation, a clear indication that you are being raised to a higher level of spiritual understanding and responsibility. God is not pushing you away from the church, severing your ties to the community of believers. He is pulling you closer to himself, drawing you into a more intimate relationship. What you are experiencing is the holy reorientation of your spirit, a deliberate recalibration that aligns you with his divine purpose. The kind that happens when God decides to teach you directly, bypassing the filters of tradition and the interpretations of others, imparting wisdom and revelation directly to your soul. You have grown, chosen one, expanding in ways that the old rooms can no longer contain, outstripping the capacity of your past experiences. What once fed you, providing ample nourishment and sustenance, now feels small and inadequate, failing to satisfy the deep longings of your heart. What once inspired you, igniting your passion and filling you with excitement, now feels predictable and stale, lacking the spark of innovation and creativity you crave. This is not rebellion, a defiant rejection of authority. It is spiritual expansion, a natural outgrowth of your deepening relationship with God. The anointing on your life is enlarging, stretching, and widening your capacity, preparing you to carry a greater measure of His glory. And as that expansion unfolds, reshaping your spiritual landscape, God begins to shift your sources, reordering the elements that contribute to your growth and well-being. He removes certain voices from your life, silencing the influences that would hinder your progress and prevent you from hearing His voice with clarity. He quiets certain rooms, diminishing the distractions and creating space for you to rediscover the sound of His presence, the gentle whispers of the Holy Spirit. He lifts you out of familiar systems, releasing you from the constraints of routine and tradition, so that you can learn to walk with Him without leaning on anything artificial, relying solely on His guidance and provision. Most people misunderstand this transition, misinterpreting the signs and drawing inaccurate conclusions. They assume that distance means decline, that a shift in perspective signifies a loss of faith. But you, Anointed One, are walking through the exact opposite, experiencing a transformation that defies conventional wisdom. You are not declining. You are deepening, plunging into the depths of God's love and wisdom. You are not drifting aimlessly. You are being drawn deliberately, guided by the hand of providence. God is rewiring your spiritual senses, fine-tuning your perception and sharpening your discernment, so that you can discern Him with a clarity that few ever reach, a level of intimacy that transcends the ordinary. Your instincts are changing, becoming more attuned to the subtle promptings of the Holy Spirit. Your appetite is changing, craving the substance of divine truth rather than the superficiality of worldly pleasures. Your conversations are changing, reflecting a deeper understanding of spiritual realities. Even your silence is changing, becoming a sacred space of communion and revelation. And all of it is evidence that heaven is preparing you to carry something you could not have carried before, a weight of glory that demands strength, wisdom, and unwavering faith. When God elevates a chosen one, positioning them for greater influence and responsibility, He almost always begins by stripping away the unnecessary, removing the excess baggage that would hinder their progress. Not violently, tearing away the foundations of their lives, but intentionally, carefully pruning the branches to promote healthy growth. People fade, relationships shift, habits transform, desires evolve. It feels like loss, a painful severing of ties that were once cherished. Yet it is preparation, a necessary process of refinement that equips you for the journey ahead. I have walked through this myself, navigating the labyrinth of uncertainty and self-doubt. There was a season when the environments that once felt like home, the places where I found comfort and belonging, suddenly became tight and constricting, like clothing I had outgrown, unable to accommodate the changes within me. At first, I questioned myself, wondering if I was becoming cold and distant, losing my passion and zeal for God. But over time, I came to understand that God was not removing me from community, severing my ties to the body of Christ. He was reconstructing my relationship with Him, rebuilding it on a foundation of intimacy and trust. And to do that, He had to rebuild me in silence, stripping away the noise and distractions that were preventing me from hearing His voice with clarity. Chosen One, you are living through the same holy reconstruction, experiencing the dismantling of your old life so that God can build something new and extraordinary in its place. Your solitude is not punishment, a consequence of your failures. It is training, a rigorous course of instruction designed to equip you for the challenges ahead. God is teaching you to hear Him without noise, discerning His voice amidst the chaos of the world, to trust Him without confirmation, relying on His unwavering faithfulness even when you cannot see the path ahead, to follow Him without applause, seeking His approval rather than the accolades of others. These are not small lessons, trivial exercises in spiritual discipline. They are the very foundations of spiritual authority, the building blocks upon which you will construct a life of purpose and impact. Many want power without process, desiring the authority to wield influence without enduring the necessary preparation. Many desire anointing without isolation, longing for the blessings of God without being willing to set themselves apart for His purposes. But the ones God uses deeply, the ones who truly transform the world, are always the ones He draws away first, separating them from the crowd and setting them apart for His divine purposes. Set apart, chosen for a specific calling. Set aside, dedicated to a life of service. Set above, elevated to a higher level of spiritual understanding. You are in that sacred threshold, the liminal space between the old and the new, poised on the brink of transformation. In this transition, you will begin to see the difference between what is good and what is God, distinguishing between the things that are merely beneficial and the things that are divinely ordained, between the structures that comfort the crowd, providing a sense of belonging and security, and the voice that summons the chosen, calling them to a higher purpose. You will notice how certain teachings no longer resonate, feeling hollow and empty, not because they are false, but because you have matured beyond the basics, grasping the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface. You will sense when a room carries form without fire, adhering to religious rituals without possessing the presence of the Holy Spirit, noise without presence, activity without anointing, filling the space with empty actions that lack divine power. This spiritual sensitivity is not arrogance, a sign that you are becoming prideful and judgmental. It is discernment, a gift from God that enables you to distinguish between truth and falsehood, to recognize His presence even when the environment does not accurately reflect Him. Do not be shocked if people misunderstand your shift, misinterpreting your actions and drawing inaccurate conclusions. Many will interpret your distance as disinterest, assuming that you no longer care about them. Your silence as separation, concluding that you are withdrawing from the community. But you are not leaving them behind, abandoning them on the path. You are simply stepping into the place God has been calling you all along, the destiny He has ordained for you from the beginning of time. A place where the Spirit leads your decisions, guiding you with unwavering certainty. A place where intimacy matters more than routine, prioritizing your connection with God above all else. A place where God becomes the center instead of the ceremony, recognizing that He is the source of all life and purpose. This deeper relationship with God will also reveal parts of yourself you never noticed before, unveiling hidden strengths and talents that have long been dormant within you. You will feel a new boldness rising in your spirit, a quiet confidence that empowers you to step into your calling with unwavering conviction. Not the kind that seeks attention, craving the spotlight of recognition, but the kind that moves with quiet certainty, trusting in God's guidance and provision. You will recognize that you no longer need external validation to feel close to God, basing your worth on the opinions of others. You will find yourself praying differently, conversing with God in a more authentic and intimate way, worshiping differently, expressing your love and gratitude with greater freedom and passion, listening differently, discerning His voice with greater clarity and understanding. Even your questions will mature, evolving from simple inquiries to profound explorations of the divine. Instead of asking God, "Are you with me?" seeking reassurance that He is present in your life, you will begin asking God, "What are you shaping in me?" seeking to understand His purposes and align yourself with His will. As you walk through this spiritual awakening, embarking on a journey of transformation and discovery, heaven will also begin shifting the people around you, reordering the landscape of your relationships. Some relationships will strengthen, growing deeper and more meaningful. Others will fade without conflict, naturally drifting apart as your own thoughts begin to feel distinct, set apart. The superficial layers, the pretenses, the things you once clung to, start to peel away like old wallpaper. It's as if a new lens has been placed before your eyes. You possess an uncanny ability to sense truth even before it's vocalized, as if the very air vibrates with honesty or deceit. You feel deception lurking in the shadows, even before it's fully revealed. Spiritual weight, the gravity of unseen realities, becomes palpable in moments that others dismiss as mere coincidence. This is not mere overthinking, spiraling into endless loops of anxiety. This is something far greater, spiritual sight maturing, sharpening with divine grace. God is patiently teaching you to read the unseen, not with suspicion or cynicism, but with wisdom, with the discerning eye of a seasoned seer. As this newfound clarity blossoms within you, a profound shift also transpires within your emotional landscape. Where you once impulsively reacted, driven by raw emotion, now you consciously respond, tempered by understanding and grace. Where fear once held you captive, paralyzing you with its icy grip, now you discern, calmly assessing the situation with a clear mind. Where you once desperately tried to force solutions, manipulating circumstances to your will, now you surrender to trust in divine timing, knowing that God's plan unfolds perfectly in its own season. This emotional maturity isn't accidental, a random stroke of luck. It is the precious fruit born from a season of intentional solitude, where God lovingly removed you from the deafening noise of the world, gently teaching you how to recognize His still, small voice amidst the chaos. You are not becoming passive, retreating from life's challenges. Quite the opposite. You are becoming grounded, rooted deeply in faith and truth. You are learning to move from a place of profound peace, not from a place of frantic panic, allowing His calmness to guide your steps. And then, something even more profound begins to transform your inner posture. You start walking differently, not outwardly, in the way you carry yourself, but inwardly, in the quiet spaces of your heart, with an unexplainable confidence, a holy steadiness that anchors you to the divine. You no longer desperately chase after closeness with God, striving to earn His favor. Instead, you carry His presence within you, a constant companion on your journey. You no longer plead for direction, begging for a sign. Instead, you listen intently for His guidance, trusting that He will illuminate your path. You no longer fear being misunderstood, agonizing over the opinions of others. Instead, you accept that authenticity often is, that true freedom lies in being unapologetically yourself. This confidence is not arrogance, a puffed-up sense of self-importance. It is alignment, a harmonious resonance with the divine. It is the quiet, unwavering knowing that comes when God becomes your anchor, your steadfast foundation, instead of the shifting sands of the world. But this awakening does far more than simply change how you see the world. It changes who sees you. People begin to notice the undeniable shift within you. Some may feel inexplicably drawn to you, unable to articulate why, but sensing something different, something special. Others may actively avoid you, feeling unsettled by your presence, because it unknowingly mirrors the aspects they haven't yet addressed within themselves. Your peace becomes a mirror, reflecting back what others try to hide. Your clarity becomes a light, illuminating the darkness they try to ignore. Your stillness becomes a force, a gentle but powerful energy that disrupts the status quo. You stop blending seamlessly into the environments you once navigated with ease. Not because you are actively trying to stand out, seeking attention or validation, but because your spirit has simply outgrown invisibility, expanding beyond the confines of conformity. Do not fear this profound shift, chosen one. It is an integral part of your calling, woven into the very fabric of your destiny. Those whom God sets apart, those He designates for a special purpose, rarely stay hidden forever. Your light, once dimmed by the weight of conformity, is now rising with purpose, burning brighter with each passing day. Yet elevation is not without its challenges, its trials by fire. As you rise higher, closer to your divine purpose, God will require you to confront the shadowed parts of yourself, the aspects you've long ignored, old wounds that fester beneath the surface, unspoken fears that whisper in the dark, learned limitations that have held you captive for far too long. This is not punishment, a cruel form of retribution. It is healing, a loving act of restoration. God refuses to elevate a version of you that is built upon a foundation of bruises, on unresolved pain. So, He lovingly brings them to light, not to shame you or condemn you, but to ultimately set you free. He gently invites you to release what you once mistakenly called your identity, but what was, in reality, merely a set of survival mechanisms, coping strategies adopted in the face of adversity. This internal cleansing is absolutely essential, an indispensable step on your path. You simply cannot carry the weight of a divine assignment, the immense responsibility that awaits you, while dragging the heavy chains of the past behind you. During this transformative process, the comforting presence of God becomes both your sanctuary and your compass, guiding you every step of the way. You will undoubtedly notice moments when he feels closer than your very breath, intimately guiding you, gently correcting you, tenderly soothing you, and powerfully strengthening you. These profound encounters are not figments of your imagination, fleeting illusions. They are tangible evidence that you are intentionally stepping into the with God life, a life lived in constant communion, rather than the for God life, a life lived at a distance, striving for his approval. God is not just asking you to serve him, to perform tasks in his name. He is lovingly teaching you to walk intimately with him, hand in hand, as a cherished companion. As this sacred bond deepens, so too does your understanding of divine timing, the perfect rhythm of his unfolding plan. You begin to see with newfound clarity that absolutely nothing in your life has been wasted, not even the experiences that once seemed meaningless or painful, not the agonizing delays that tested your patience, not the heartbreaks that shattered your dreams, not the unexpected detours that led you down unfamiliar paths. Every single moment, both joyous and sorrowful, has meticulously shaped you, molding you into the person you are today. Every setback has meticulously prepared you for what lies ahead, strengthening your resolve and resilience. Every disappointment has meticulously purified you, refining your character and deepening your compassion. What you once mistakenly labeled as failure, God now reveals as the foundational stones upon which your future is being built. What you once perceived as a profound loss, God now lovingly reveals as divine alignment, a necessary realignment of your path. You were never truly behind, never lagging behind schedule. You were simply being meticulously prepared, being lovingly refined, for something far greater than you could have ever imagined. This profound realization washes over you, bringing with it an unshakable peace, a sense of unwavering certainty. You instinctively stop rushing, no longer driven by impatience or anxiety. You consciously stop comparing yourself to others, releasing the need for validation or approval. You purposefully stop begging for answers, trusting that they will be revealed in due time. Instead, you begin to live each day with a quiet knowing, a deep-seated confidence that permeates every aspect of your being. If God opened a door before you, it is rightfully yours, divinely ordained. If he withheld it, gently closing it in your face, then it simply wasn't meant for you, not at this time, perhaps not ever. Your life becomes increasingly marked by trust, and trust, in turn, becomes your greatest strength, your unwavering anchor. And then, just when you least expect it, when you have completely surrendered to his perfect plan, the shift becomes undeniably external, manifesting in the tangible world around you. Opportunities suddenly appear where there were seemingly none before, like hidden doors being unlocked. Breakthroughs effortlessly unfold, without the need for relentless striving or manipulation. People unexpectedly enter your life who recognize the hidden potential that others previously dismissed, seeing your true worth. Divine connections are forged, resonating with a shared purpose and vision. Closed paths miraculously reopen, beckoning you forward. Doors you never even dared to knock on swing wide, inviting you to step into new realms of possibility. This is the tangible evidence that your inner world, the landscape of your heart and soul, has finally aligned with your divine blueprint, the unique design God has crafted specifically for you. You must deeply understand this, chosen one. The inner shift always precedes the outer one, always. When God is preparing to elevate you, to thrust you into a new level of purpose and influence, he elevates your spirit first, strengthening your inner foundation. You are currently in that sacred elevation, undergoing a profound transformation. You may not yet see the full manifestation of what is to come, the unfolding of your destiny, but heaven sees your readiness, your preparedness. What is coming for you is not random, not a matter of chance or luck. It is the precious fruit of divine orchestration, meticulously planned and perfectly timed. It is the culmination of your obedience, your surrender, your solitude, and your unwavering faithfulness. None of it has been overlooked, not a single prayer, not a single act of service. Heaven has been diligently taking notes, recording every sacrifice, every act of devotion. And now, the appointed time is rapidly approaching, the moment when you will purposefully step into the life that has been lovingly forming around you from the very beginning. Not a life characterized by relentless striving, but a life overflowing with abundance. Not a life shrouded in confusion, but a life illuminated by unwavering clarity. Not a life paralyzed by fear, but a life empowered by divine authority. Not a life aimlessly wandering, but a life purposefully directed towards your unique destiny. This is the sacred threshold, anointed one. You are standing on it now, poised on the edge of the unknown. Your spirit instinctively recognizes it, resonating with anticipation. Your dreams whisper of it, filled with vivid imagery. Your heart aches for it, yearning for its fulfillment. You can feel the edge of this new season as surely as you feel the life-giving breath in your lungs. What lies ahead for you is not small, not insignificant. It is not ordinary, not mundane. It is not accidental, not a random occurrence. It is destiny itself, unfolding before your very eyes. Awakened, refined, and ready, chosen one. As you continue walking faithfully through this sacred transformation, you will come to realize that God has been preparing you for a realm of spiritual responsibility far deeper and more profound than anything you could have possibly imagined. This incredible journey you are currently on is not simply about separation, about isolating yourself from the world. It's not merely about healing old wounds, about mending broken pieces. It's not solely about awakening to your true self, about shedding illusions. It is ultimately about becoming, about evolving into the fullness of who you were created to be. Becoming the person heaven saw long before earth ever tried to define you, long before societal expectations attempted to confine you. Becoming the vessel God can trust with influence that is not measured by fleeting popularity but by unwavering purity. Becoming a carrier of His divine presence in a world that has tragically forgotten what real presence truly feels like. And one of the clearest, most undeniable signs that you are confidently stepping into this new realm is the unmistakable way your inner life begins to grow louder, more vibrant than your external one. You are thinking differently, perceiving differently, responding differently. What once irritated you, triggering immediate reactions, no longer shakes you, no longer has the power to steal your peace. What once distracted you, tempting you with fleeting pleasures, no longer holds your attention, no longer captives your desires. The peace that used to visit you only in rare, fleeting moments has now become your constant resting place, your unwavering foundation. This profound shift is not accidental, not a random occurrence. It is the undeniable evidence that God is firmly establishing Himself as the unshakable anchor of your soul, securing you amidst the storms of life. You'll notice, too, that the more you grow spiritually, the more your priorities begin to shift, rearranging themselves in accordance with your evolving soul. You crave depth instead of noise, meaningful connection instead of superficial chatter. You yearn for honesty instead of performance, authenticity over pretense. You value purity instead of validation, inner integrity over external approval. You consciously stop allowing the world to dictate what truly matters, refusing to be swayed by fleeting trends or societal pressures. Your spirit instinctively begins rearranging your life from the inside out, intentionally removing anything that does not align with where you are headed, with the divine purpose that burns within you. And even though this internal cleansing can sometimes feel uncomfortable, like shedding an old skin, it is also incredibly freeing, liberating you from the shackles of the past. You are purposefully shedding versions of yourself that were shaped by mere survival, by paralyzing fear, and by the heavy weight of external expectation. And you are confidently stepping into the version of yourself that was meticulously formed by divine purpose, the person you were always meant to be. This transformation also brings something else, a heightened awareness of assignment, a clear understanding of your unique role in the grand tapestry of life. You no longer view your existence as random, a mere accident of fate. You begin sensing, with increasing clarity, that your presence is specifically needed in certain places, around certain people, in specific moments that were divinely arranged, orchestrated by a higher power. You begin noticing that your words carry a certain weight, not because you speak loudly or forcefully, but because your spirit carries a divine authority, earned through surrender and obedience. Authority is never achieved through relentless striving or self-promotion. It is ultimately achieved through complete and utter surrender to the will of God. God has been patiently cultivating this divine authority within you during the seasons of silence, the times of pruning, and the periods of intentional isolation. Chosen one. One of the most beautiful and profound signs of spiritual maturity is the unmistakable way God begins entrusting you with insight that others simply cannot see, spiritual perception that transcends the natural realm. This is not about possessing secret gossip or hidden knowledge, but about wielding spiritual discernment, the ability to see beneath the surface of things, to discern the changing of seasons, to understand the underlying atmosphere, to sense spiritual warfare before it fully manifests in the physical realm, to recognize the subtle signs of divine timing in seemingly ordinary moments. This heightened sensitivity can feel overwhelming at first, like being bombarded with information. But with time, with practice, you will learn that it is not a burden, a weight to be carried with resentment. It is, in reality, a priceless gift, a powerful weapon, and a reliable compass, all intricately designed to guide you into the specific places where God needs His light to shine most brightly. But with greater sensitivity comes a deeper need for stewardship, a responsibility to manage your spiritual gifts with wisdom and care. God will require you to meticulously manage your mind, intentionally guarding your peace, and diligently protecting your spiritual environment from negativity and distraction. You will find yourself consciously turning away from conversations that once entertained you, that once held your attention, because they simply no longer resonate with the person you are becoming, the higher version of yourself. You will inevitably outgrow fear-based thinking, scarcity mentality, and emotional chaos, recognizing them for what they are, hindrances to your divine purpose. You will consciously begin choosing calm over conflict, understanding over knee-jerk reactions, and intentional silence over unnecessary explanations. This discipline is not about simply being quiet, suppressing your voice. It is about being aligned, harmonizing your spirit with the divine frequency. Every single time you consciously choose peace over reaction, you step further into your authentic, divine identity, claiming your rightful inheritance. During this transformative time, God will also lovingly teach you the profound power of waiting. Not passive waiting, apathetic resignation, but prophetic waiting, an active anticipation that recognizes waiting as an integral part of the preparation process, rather than a frustrating delay. Waiting becomes an act of worship, a reverent posture before the divine. Waiting becomes refinement, a crucible where your character is forged and strengthened. Waiting becomes alignment, a process of attuning your spirit to the perfect will of God. And in that sacred space of waiting, God lovingly strengthens your sensitivity, clarifies your thinking, and develops your character, molding you into the person He has always envisioned you to be. Too many people desperately want a prophetic promise, yearning for a glimpse into their future, without embracing the necessary prophetic process, the steps required to fulfill that promise. But you, chosen one, are learning to embrace both the promise and the process, understanding that they are inextricably linked. As your spirit continues to mature, to deepen in its relationship with God, you will begin recognizing the subtle movements of God in your life, the gentle nudges that guide you along your path. Opportunities that once seemed purely coincidental will now clearly appear as divinely orchestrated setups, carefully arranged by a loving hand. People will unexpectedly enter your life with a clear purpose, rather than mere convenience, strategically placed to assist you on your journey. Conversations will feel intentionally orchestrated, guided by a higher power. Suddenly, your life will no longer feel like a random collection of disjointed experiences. It will become a cohesive narrative, meticulously authored by heaven itself. Destiny will begin to reveal itself, not in grand, sweeping events, but in small, subtle confirmations that resonate deeply within your soul, echoing with divine truth. And then comes the inevitable shift, the turning of the tide. A shift so gentle and yet so undeniable, so profound, that you can feel it in your very bones, even before you can fully explain it to others. You start realizing, with growing certainty, that you no longer quite fit into the spaces you once tried so desperately to belong to, the environments you once sought validation from. Your spirit feels too expanded, too vast to be contained within those limited confines. Your discernment feels too sharp, cutting through the noise and illusion. Your calling feels too clear, too purposeful to be ignored. You look around at the world you once inhabited, at the life you once lived, and you realize with stark clarity that it is simply too small for the person God is actively shaping you to become. This is not pride, an inflated sense of self-importance. This is profound clarity, the ability to see yourself and your purpose with unwavering accuracy. God is intentionally enlarging your spirit, expanding your capacity, before He enlarges your territory, before He entrusts you with greater influence and responsibility. Chosen one. The more you faithfully step into this higher dimension, this elevated state of being, the more you will deeply understand that being chosen is not about privilege, not about entitlement. It is, in its purest form, about responsibility, about embracing a sacred duty. It is about willingly choosing to stand strong where others falter, to listen intently where others react impulsively, to trust implicitly when others succumb to fear, to obey without hesitation when others waver in doubt. You are being meticulously shaped, not for a life of comfort and ease, but for a life of divine assignment, a purpose that is far greater than yourself. An assignment that will demand unwavering wisdom, unyielding boldness, and a depth of relationship with God that cannot be shaken, a connection that transcends the temporal realm. And perhaps the most profound realization in this phase of your journey is the undeniable truth that God is no longer just teaching you how to follow Him, how to walk in His footsteps. He is lovingly teaching you how to carry Him, how to embody His presence in the world, how to bring His hope into rooms where hope itself is dying, flickering like a fragile flame, how to speak life into situations that feel utterly impossible, defying all logic and reason, how to bring crystal clear clarity into the midst of swirling confusion, cutting through the fog of uncertainty, how to break through atmospheres that suffocate others, creating space for healing and restoration. This chosen one is the essence of spiritual maturity. This is the weight of divine responsibility. You are not simply growing, inching forward at a steady pace. You are ascending, rising to new heights of spiritual awareness. You are confidently stepping into a new spiritual elevation, a place where God becomes not just your refuge, your safe haven, but also your very assignment, the driving force behind your purpose. You are becoming His instrument, His voice, His vessel, a conduit for His divine power. Not because you have earned it, not through any merit of your own, but because you have completely surrendered to the unique path He has meticulously designed for you, trusting in His perfect plan. This is your preparation, the forging of your spirit. This is your consecration, the setting apart for a divine purpose. This is the calling of a chosen one, stepping boldly into their God-ordained destiny. Chosen one, as you continue rising in this sacred journey, as you ascend to new heights of spiritual understanding, you will begin noticing a profound truth, a reality that will reshape your perception. The higher God takes you, the quieter everything around you becomes, the more the external noise fades away. This intentional silence is not emptiness, not a void to be feared. It is divine insulation, a protective barrier erected by God Himself. It is the sacred spiritual atmosphere where God lovingly protects what He is meticulously forming inside of you, safeguarding your heart and soul. Many mistakenly interpret the silence of this transformative phase as stagnation, as a lack of progress. But those who truly carry destiny, those who are destined for greatness, understand that silence is often the very place where the strongest foundations are built, where the most profound transformations occur. When God is intentionally shaping someone for significant impact, preparing them for a role of influence, He lovingly removes unnecessary voices, silencing the distractions, so that the soul can finally, truly hear the one voice that ultimately matters, His. During this sacred season, you will find yourself drawn inward in ways you never expected, pulled towards introspection, not with a sense of heaviness or dread, but with a growing sense of focus, a laser-like concentration. You begin learning the sacred language of stillness, discovering the hidden wisdom that lies dormant in the moments the world considers unproductive, the times when you are simply being present. You realize with newfound clarity how much unnecessary noise you once tolerated, how much precious energy you once wasted, how many fragmented pieces of yourself you once carelessly scattered into places that were never meant to hold you, into relationships that drained you instead of nourishing you. This is the maturing of the spirit, the deepening of your soul. God is lovingly gathering you back to yourself, reclaiming all those scattered pieces, so that when He eventually sends you out again, when He calls you to step into your destiny, you will be whole, centered, and unshakable, radiating His divine presence. This intentional inner gathering also reveals a deeper layer of purpose, illuminating the hidden meaning behind your past experiences. You begin to sense, with growing conviction, that every trial you have endured, every disappointment you have faced, every moment of feeling overlooked or unseen was not a cruel wound, not a random act of misfortune. It was, in reality, a meticulous refinement, a forging of your character. The pain you carried, the burdens you bore, were not a punishment inflicted upon you. They were a divinely ordained preparation, intentionally softening the soil of your heart so that God could plant seeds of revelation, seeds of wisdom, and seeds of compassion that no classroom could ever teach, that no human experience could ever replicate. You start to see intricate patterns where you once only saw chaos, senseless suffering. You start to see divine strategy where you once perceived only hardship, random pain. And in that profound clarity, you realize with unwavering conviction that nothing, absolutely nothing, was wasted. Not one tear that fell, not one heartbreak that shattered your world, not one agonizing delay that tested your patience. It is in this profound understanding, in this sacred revelation, that the true miracle begins, the undeniable emergence of spiritual stability, an unshakable foundation. A stability that is not born from cold logic or impressive achievements, but from an intimate partnership with God, a constant communion with the divine. You are no longer easily shaken by the fleeting opinions of others, no longer swayed by their judgments, because you are now firmly anchored in a deeper truth, rooted in His unwavering love. You no longer desperately chase after what is not meant for you, relinquishing the need to control every outcome, because you deeply trust in divine orchestration, knowing that His plan is perfect. You no longer fear the unknown, the uncertainties that lie ahead, because you have personally tasted the unwavering faithfulness of God in places where you could rely on nothing and no one else, where He was your only source of hope. This profound stability becomes your new spiritual identity, the essence of who you are, and it is incredibly powerful, chosen one. This transformation will also undeniably change the way you navigate relationships, the way you connect with others. You will no longer cling to people for comfort or belonging, desperately seeking validation or approval. You will connect with them from a place of overflow, from the abundance of love and joy that radiates from within, not from a place of emptiness, seeking to fill a void. You will love from a place of profound depth, of genuine connection, not from a place of need, seeking to fulfill your own desires. And you will recognize, quicker than ever before, when a connection is truly divine, ordained by God, or simply a distracting force, pulling you away from your purpose. This clarity is an integral part of your elevation, a vital component of your journey. God is intentionally surrounding you with those who can walk alongside you spiritually, those who can nourish your soul, not just engage with you socially on a superficial level. Those who can understand your unique frequency, resonating with your spirit, not just your personality, the external facade. Those who can actively stretch your faith, challenging you to grow, not drain your strength, depleting your energy. This relational shift is crucial, absolutely essential, because destiny cannot be walked alone, in complete isolation. But it must be walked with the right people, with those who are divinely aligned with your purpose. And while these new, life-giving relationships are being formed, something else beautiful and profound happens. God lovingly restores your sense of vision, the clarity of your purpose. Not merely the vision of what you want to achieve, but the deeper vision of who you are becoming, the person you are destined to be. You begin to sense divine timing in your life, recognizing the perfect rhythm of His unfolding plan. Ideas come more naturally, flowing effortlessly from your mind. Solutions appear faster, often unexpectedly. Paths open before you with surprising ease. It is as if heaven has synchronized your steps with something far larger than yourself, orchestrating your journey, and you can undeniably feel the rhythm of it resonating within your spirit. This is not mere coincidence, a random alignment of events. This is divine alignment, the perfect harmony of your soul with His will. You are now operating from a place where your spirit and your destiny flow in perfect unison, where your actions are guided by His unwavering hand. But with this renewed vision comes an increased sense of responsibility, a weightier calling. God begins to trust you with insights, dreams, and assignments that carry significant weight, that have the power to impact others. You may feel Him gently urging you to speak words that bring clarity to those who are lost, to carry peace into chaotic situations that seem insurmountable, or to pray fervently for people you barely know, interceding on their behalf. This is not random, not a figment of your imagination. This is spiritual maturity manifesting, the fruit of your devotion. God is lovingly teaching you to partner with Him, to co-create alongside Him, not merely observe Him from a distance. You are learning what it truly means to be a vessel He can use at any given moment, a willing instrument in His hands. Chosen one. You will also undoubtedly notice that your presence begins to carry a different weight, an undeniable sense of authority. People instinctively feel calmer around you, drawn to your sense of peace. They feel seen, truly acknowledged and understood. They feel convicted in ways they cannot fully explain, as if your very presence shines a light on their own hearts. This is not simply your personality, not a mere quirk of character. This is the presence you carry, the divine essence that radiates from within you. This is what happens when someone intentionally spends intimate time in the inner chambers with God, dwelling in His presence. They begin reflecting Him effortlessly, without even trying. Their posture becomes a form of ministry, a living embodiment of His grace. Their silence becomes a source of guidance, offering wisdom and solace. Their very life becomes a message, a living testament to what God can do with someone who is fully surrendered, someone who has wholeheartedly embraced His will. But be prepared, chosen one. The more your light strengthens, the more your influence grows, the more certain people will consciously distance themselves from you, creating space between you. Not because you have done something wrong, not because you have intentionally offended them, but because your growth confronts what they are unwilling to face within themselves, the areas they have been avoiding. Your elevation will inevitably make some uncomfortable, exposing their own insecurities. Your clarity will make some feel threatened, highlighting their own confusion. Your authenticity will make some defensive, challenging their own pretense. This is not your burden to carry, not your responsibility to fix. This is simply spiritual differentiation, the natural separation that occurs as you align with your divine purpose. Those who truly belong in your next season, those who are meant to walk alongside you, will readily recognize your growth as alignment, not as arrogance, understanding that you are simply stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be. And as these relational shifts occur, as certain connections fade away while others blossom, you will discover a profound truth, a foundational principle that will anchor you deeply in faith. God Himself is your ultimate source, the wellspring of all that you need. Not fleeting relationships, not unstable environments, not rigid structures. God alone. And because He is your inexhaustible source, because He is the bedrock of your being, nothing can ultimately stop your destiny. Nothing can thwart His perfect plan for your life. No betrayal can block it, no matter how deep the wound. No agonizing delay can erase it, no matter how long you wait. No malicious attack can cancel it, no matter how fierce the battle. God has been meticulously preparing you, intentionally shaping you, refining you with unwavering care, far too deeply, too thoroughly, for anything to ultimately hinder what He is about to release into your life. You are now standing in the final stretch of preparation, poised on the brink of breakthrough. The atmosphere surrounding your life is undeniably shifting, charged with anticipation. Your identity is stabilizing, solidifying into its truest form. Your discernment is maturing, becoming increasingly sharp and accurate. Your spirit is advancing, growing stronger with each passing day. Heaven is aligning, orchestrating the events that will usher you into your destiny. Purpose is calling, beckoning you forward with irresistible force. You are no longer simply becoming, gradually evolving. You are emerging, stepping into the version of yourself that heaven has been lovingly crafting all along, the person you were always meant to be. Chosen one. What is coming next is not mere growth, a gradual progression. It is ascension, a soaring flight to new heights of purpose and influence. Chosen one, you have reached the edge of a sacred threshold, a pivotal moment in your journey. The place where preparation becomes purpose, where years of dedication and sacrifice culminate in meaningful action. The place where purpose becomes movement, where your calling propels you forward with unwavering momentum. Everything you have faithfully walked through, every profound shift you have experienced, every challenging wilderness you have navigated, every soul-stirring awakening you have encountered has been meticulously leading you to this exact moment in time. You are not standing here by accident. No, darling, not at all. Heaven itself has ushered you through the doorway and into the unfolding landscape of your next dimension. Feel it? The very atmosphere around you crackles with a divine expectancy, a pregnant anticipation of what is to come. Deep within, something has settled. Hasn't it? Like sediment in a glass of water, the swirling confusion has finally subsided, leaving behind a clarity you haven't known in what feels like forever. The old identity, that skin you've been trying to shed for so long, has finally fallen away, releasing you from its suffocating grip. You are no longer consumed by the wrestling match with who you were. Instead, a quiet joy bubbles up as you embrace the magnificent becoming of who you are destined to be. The strength you now carry is different, isn't it? No longer a frantic, desperate clawing for control, but a quiet, deep wellspring, rooted in an unshakable confidence that comes from walking intimately with God, not from the exhausting pursuit of proving your worth to the world. Ahead of you lies not mere survival, a scraping by on the edges of existence. No, beloved, ahead of you is assignment, a purpose so profound, so specifically tailored to your unique gifts and experiences, that the universe itself holds its breath in anticipation. Ahead of you is impact, a ripple effect of love, grace, and truth that will touch lives you can't even imagine, leaving an indelible mark on the tapestry of eternity. You are stepping into a season, a chapter of your life where God will not simply reveal things to you, whispering secrets in the twilight. No, He will reveal Himself through you. Your very life will become a living, breathing testament to His unwavering faithfulness, a beacon of hope shining brightly in the darkest corners of the world. Chosen one. This is the moment heaven has been meticulously, lovingly preparing you for since the dawn of time. Step forward. Don't hesitate. Don't look back. Your destiny, that glorious, preordained path, is ready and waiting to embrace you now. Chosen one. As we reach the culmination of this sacred message, I speak these words into the very core of your being with profound reverence and absolute certainty. You are standing in your Kairos moment, that divinely appointed, opportune time when heaven and earth align. Heaven has already shifted on your behalf, setting into motion forces beyond your comprehension, orchestrating events to bring you to this very point. What God has begun in you is not some abstract theory, a distant dream, or a promise perpetually delayed. It is unfolding now in this very moment. Feel the momentum? You are stepping out of old, confining structures, those self-imposed limitations and societal expectations that have held you captive for far too long, and into divine alignment, carried by a supernatural transfer of power and grace that has already been set in motion. Embrace it. Allow it to carry you forward. Anointed one, that feeling of separation, that sense of being set apart, it wasn't loss. It was strategic positioning, a divine recalibration. The silence you endured, the seeming emptiness, it wasn't a void. It was God drawing you into the deeper, more intimate chambers of His presence, preparing you for the work ahead. And now, as you exhale and release the baggage of the past, those limiting beliefs and toxic relationships that no longer serve your story, the anointing oil on your life flows freely again, an unhindered stream of divine power and purpose. You are ready. You are aligned. You are exactly where heaven needs you to be at this precise moment in time. I declare over you a fresh outpouring of clarity, an unclouded vision of the path ahead. I speak boldness into your spirit, a courage that knows no fear, and I release upon you a surge of spiritual authority, the power to speak truth and walk in your divine calling. May your steps be ordered by the divine, each footfall guided by his loving hand. May your discernment sharpen, allowing you to see beyond the surface and into the heart of every matter. May the radiant presence of God continue to unfold in every corner of your life, illuminating your path and filling you with his boundless love. Walk forward with unwavering confidence, chosen one, because what lies ahead is immeasurably greater than anything you've left behind. If this word resonates deep within your spirit, chosen one, let it be known. Declare your truth. Write in the comments, I walk in my divine moment. Let the world hear your affirmation. And if you feel led, stay connected, not out of mindless routine, but to remain aligned with the ever-flowing current of what heaven is releasing. Until we meet again, stay yielded to his will, stay grounded in his truth, and never, ever forget that you are chosen and your time is now.